How's going guys, welcome to the channel. In this video we are gonna see, what if Naruto got harem with Sona in DxD. Huge shout out to Azure King and Azure Queen for this story. If you wants to see awesome fanfiction like this, don't forget to subscribe. Now let's get into the video. The young woman was walking down the streets of Tokyo, ignoring most of the people passing by her or the persicums that were next to their owners. She looked up as many others did when all the TV screens turned off and showed a cross with a snake slithering around it as a four-line was circling around it. The Flammel's Maelstrom logo, the very combination of a sudden wind of change with the power of legendary alchemist who was famed to create anything. Soon a pink-haired woman wearing a sundress appeared with a big smile, Papo. Hello, welcome, hey. It's Flammel's sweet mascot, Poppy Pippa Papo. The young woman simply pushed her glasses to the bridge of her nose, for now, they switched the girls every 3 years. She rolled her eyes as she saw the woman lifted her hand to show a smaller screen that was blank. We have a big announcement to tell everyone here and it's super duper amazing. The screen showed 5 new people with their arms stretched out and rotated. Creator has created the new Flammel laptop models Yuki and Yuma. The screen showed 2 palm-sized little models, one wearing a white kimono with snowflakes on it, while the other did a cute punk look. As you know that the laptops are cute to carry but don't do much in labor, so good for the owners who need cuteness but want to be independent. Oh, sweet. The new models look super cute. A random man said as he drooled over the new androids and persicums. Hiya. Yuma got a revised. A group of teen girls screamed out in ecstasy from the news. The girl ignored the masses as the pink hair mascot continued on as she got a warning. Sign as it appear in police tape, oh no. We got a sudden breaking news, we got the newest on the Yorha bodyguard section. Cue the intro. The bespectacled girl raised her eyebrow. What are they up to now? The screen's light were dimmed as they saw a young man in a closed elevator door, showing the man's back which held the Yorha Police Division outfit with a wording that said Android RK8000. The newest detective on the block, a woman's voice echoed sensually as the video played. Smart. The video cut to the man's right hand as he played with a silver dollar coin expertly as he balanced it and run it back and forth, its fingers before tossing it back and forth. Handsome. Then it faded into his face, a charming yet handsome look that would captivate anyone's heart. Loyal. As the last ding was heard, the coin stopped between the man's index and middle fingers on his right hand before tucking the object away. Tightening his tie, which showed the left side of his jacket that held the same writing on the back, before lifting his face to show an calming smile. But on the right temple of his head was a small circle of lead and gold, the trademark of the Flammel's androids. The doors opened to show a scruffy man entering the elevator, standing next to him before giving a smile. Ready to do this, Connor? He asked as the android looked back before giving a nod and returned the facial gesture. As always, Lieutenant. Time to keep the street safe, and rest assured he turned his head to where a camera got his left side as he winked at the audience. The Flammels always create the best, he trailed off before walking away. Our newest line of detective androids are here. The Connors are bigger upgrade than the sadly discontinued Jasons due to the heavy rain incident, but rest assured we all got the new. The glasses wearing girl pondered. She had to admit that the android was quite charming, but ultimately ignored the news of the androids as she saw it coming, unlike everyone else who are continued to be charmed by the mascot sales pitch. So hot stuff, where's your owner? The young woman saw a pair of red-haired twins moving away from 2 male teens who moved in closer. Her eyes became stern, but then surprised at the models Devola and Popola in their original outfits. Those were the very first of the Yorha androids, both battle-ready, and one of the rarer models that were for home use than the usual persicum. I hope those men know not to mess with them. The spectacled girl frowned. Please leave, me and my sister are not interested. The Popola model spoke as she stepped up to protect her younger sister, and we do not have a owner, we are from the company to do a checkup on this area. Please leave or else we will detain you for loitering. Ah, why you gotta be so cold like that? One of the men said in mock hurt. We just wanna have some fun. Fools, the glasses girl frowned. Something the matter, gentlemen? The males turned pale as they saw a familiar man walking towards them, flipping a silver dollar coin lazily in the air, or perhaps you were breaking the law on section 4. Paragraph 9. That states any type of stealing or hacking a Yorha or any persicum not only includes jail time, but if the unit wishes we can put you to for death. He explained to the humans before a dark smile formed on his face, before it faded away for a warmer one. But that's if you were going to do it right. Honor leaned and winking as he patted the man's shoulder, you can run now, before I get my cuffs. Oh well, the first man sweated. The second man looked to his partner and nodded before. Whoosh. Running away. Well, that takes care of that. Connor nodded, although unlike before it sounded fake. Soon he turned to the 2 red-haired girl androids. Father wants you back ASAP, we gotta let on new projects. He needs you to run the details. He said as the girls nodded obediently and they went their separate ways. The girl wearing the glasses couldn't help but be in awe at the professional way they know all of the machines that company makes. Unless programmed or after weeks studying their owners, this was base for all androids calm and compose. The dark-haired woman barely remembered a time where there wasn't an android on the streets, either working as a stand-in for restaurants to recite menus or welcome customers to accompany or helped elderly owners around the streets. However, with new technology comes great innovation and progress of moving into the future, keeping up with the times or they fall behind. With each year came better models, or revamping the old ones to keep up with the newer versions. In total she counted nearly 612 models that are unique and always getting new features. Not a single one of those were scrapped or discontinued, even the ones for battle or police work. Jasons were now working as traffic cops, then the Connors work. The company CEO and creator of all the units was never seen since the turn of 20th century, as many company wanted to buy blueprints or work with him. But all connections to humanity were unable to reach him as only the most skilled and powerful androids work at the HQ with the creator. No humans were allowed ever since the Connor prototype was almost stolen before the creator vanished from the world. Just who was this creator? "Excuse me ma'am," a Connor called out as the bespectacled girl turned to see a Connor model approach her. This was a first. Never in all her time was a police Yorha came to talk to her. "I apologize if I scared you, I just saw the security feedback and hoped to catch you." He earnestly explained, "I was only scaring those two teens, I read their bios, and neither of them are bad, just a bit perverted on their internet searches." He smiled knowingly at the woman, hoping to make her laugh, to which it didn't. "I hope that this hasn't steered you away from the creator's androids." "Not in the slightest." "I'm glad to hear that." Connor smiled. "I must apologize if this comes as abrupt, but I would like to request your assistance in something." "I am afraid I cannot. I work for the government, but if you need help go to your local police or call in 999 for a 2B or 82 if the matter is an emergency." He robotically explained the situation to her. "Protocol and all." He shrugged in apologetic style. "Sorry ma'am." "No, it's alright. Thank you for your time." The woman bowed before taking her leave. "Is it that bad?" he asked suddenly as the young woman turned back with a confused yet alarmed look. "Did it just break its own rules?" "You know what? Sorry, I need to work with my other brothers. I hope you can get your help," he said, tilting his head forward, almost bowing, as he dashed away. The woman shook her head to ignore what happened. He is new, though sometimes they act a bit too human to appease the masses. Later she entered the Flamel department store, although it looked like a mall, as she saw 3 floors for all the domestic models that were needed to cater any type of person's wants and needs. She turned to a LED screen that said, "Flamels you want we created," said as the girl nodded to herself. Most companies never bend over backwards for suggestions, but this was one of the reasons the androids were the hottest thing to buy. They never stay the same, as they can be stoic to calm like Connor or sultry and wanna buy us? The young woman blushed as 2 scantily clad women with white hair and glasses making a kissing face at her. "I'm Yuki version 2001 and she's Shiki 2006, the woman who makes shy men into confident studs. Also love teasing cute bookworm girls like you, cutie. And I love being a tease for my masters to grow a backbone to get what they want." The Shiki model, a young woman around the human's age, said with a wink. She took a deep breath and moved away, ignoring a disappointing cry from the women. The spectacle saw others from maids to butlers, gentle motherly types and kind fatherly models. Each one in any year had one thing that one human wanted. "Excuse me?" A teen girl turned to see a human, not an android, wearing the uniform of the store. "Do you need help on picking on a model?" she asked, gesturing the entire building. "Sorry about the girls up front, they aren't usually like that. But you know the story, when they have a type they want to nurture it." She chuckled awkwardly. "I mean, if you need that type of pleasure, we don't sell those types, you need to go online." And the human woman stopped as the younger female raised her hand to stop her. "I'm perfectly fine, thank you," she said, but inwardly slapped herself at her cold tone. "I was going to say we don't make those types either due to the creator's rules on that, but we can find something more suitable," the employee said with a slight edge to her tone, angry to be quite like an android. "I appreciate the offer, but I'm here for something else entirely different." "And what would that be?" the employee asked as she hoped to win back some of her pride for losing her cool. "Do you have an android that's more normal?" "Normal?" the woman asked. "Well, we have the standard type, if you wish. They never had a personality as possible, but boring in my personal opinion, or something like the girl next door normal," the older female explained, walking with the teen girl as she pointed to the everyday section. "Those your type?" "Something like that, I suppose." "Suppose? Is there any kind of clue to what can help your search? Cause you know that if you buy one, most tend to stay with it until the new updates to bring in them, which can take weeks or months to change their personalities for free." I just want to make sure your money is well put into use. It's for an otaku friend of mine. She is going through some problems and I want to give a nice model for her. She declared, blushing mildly at the idea of her gift. Maybe my preference is not the best, so what do you recommend it? Oh, well, if that's the case, follow me. The employee said, as the bespectacled girl did so, being led to a section. We have a different variety of models that offer emotional support. Emotional support? She echoed, is that really a part of the package? Yes. You said your friend was going through some problems, yes? Right, I just didn't think they were equipped for it. The teen stated honestly, as she was a little happy her friend will get some help going through this ordeal. So I know it's a dumb question, but have you ever seen the creator? The creator? The employee thought about it. I'm afraid I haven't. Besides, I was a kid when the news was heard before I got my first laptop pre-Personkum. Can you believe we used to lug those things around? She laughed at the idea on getting a bag for thin rectangle box instead of a cute chibi idol. I see, sighed the spectacled girl. As she saw the woman showing her a tablet which was still used by many of the employees to show the result of the customized orders. It was perfect in many ways. How long will it? In the morning tomorrow. The woman said as she looked down the price. Did you buy one previously? No, I haven't. Why? The employee scratched her head as she looked at the tablet. Seems you won a discounted free rush order. What? She leaned her head to see the winner. Over the model that she saw. Oh, it rarely happens, just so you know. The woman chuckled a little. Instances like these are like 1 in 100 per quarter, sometimes a bit more due to how often people buy them. Thus the chances of this happening to someone occurs at better odds. That's amazing, I guess my friend owes me one now. She said with a small smile as things seemed to get better. Let me get your name and contact information, so if anything happens to your friend's model, we can send a team or have her send the model to use for free repairs. She said until a hand touched her shoulder to see an android. Oh, hello there. Is something the matter? Manager wanted to see you, I got the details here. It was tall, almost police bodyguard type of the androids. He had spiky black hair and wore black shades. The teen felt a bit unnerved at the strong being before her. Sorry miss, I was recalled due to my processor on the fits. I can at least do shopkeeping. He stated as he touched the tablet as the woman left the two, name if possible. The spectacled girl blinked a little before speaking out her name. Shitori Smna. When typing the name, just for a second the finger stopped as the face of the android smiled sincerely. Thank you, we hope that your purchase went well and hope to see you in the near future. And as my father would say, the morning always comes to those who want it. With that he turned on his heel as he moved to the next customer who he also spooked. Sona briefly caused the emphasized near when the android spoke. She was a little suspicious on this detail, but the rational part of her mind convinced her that it was probably standard protocol towards customers, as one wouldn't know if they'd be frequently purchasing goods from the shops or not. She however was happy to get her friend Ria's something before that eventual day. As she left the store, the android that took her data passed by another one, accidentally bumping into each other. Sorry, my data scrambled a bit. She said, grabbing some documents that she dropped into the floor. I didn't mean to. Dear, it's fine. He said, helping her up and leaving. Smiling to looked at mirror's reflection that with the documents was the tablet he was using. HMPH, time to get father home, he said, looking upward for what seemed like an eternity of waiting. Location. Sona's home. Time. The next day, morning, before school. Ooh, so tanned, I can't wait to visit you. Sona sighed inwardly and to her own hatred mentally crying waterfall tears. Sister, I know, ahem, did you happen to buy more androids? She spoke into her cell phone. Well duh, why wouldn't I? They're great for my show. You mean that almost porno you run? Sona scoffed as she remembered the last few androids were nearly nude on the last episode. How many times do I have to tell you? It's not a porno. It's a show for magical girls. Yes, magical show and all that. Yet most of the android actors and actresses tend to wear provocative attires. Recompassing herself, Sona, anyway, I just wanted to let you know, I won a free android. So if you were saving points, I will reimburse you for that. She promised before her eyes shot comically wide. Money. I meant money. She yelled out, knowing her sister would bend her wording to do something that'd cause her get her own android for therapy sessions. Really? I know they send out special personality mods or those new fun time add-ons for the women androids. But I never heard of a free one, and coming from me that buys the newest ones when they come out is rare, the woman's voice said, before a bonking noise was heard. Then again, I buy in bulk, so I might gotten a few free buys without knowing. The sweat drop formed at the back of the Citrier's head upon hearing this. I often wonder how the budget hasn't declined due to her spending habits. Anyway, so you got android. A mischievous tone came with that. "Now I will only allow the Connor model to be in the house, but any girl type is fine, as long as you bought the long rod." "Oh, it's not for me sister, but it's for Ria's." Sona hastily stated to stop a blush from coming to her face. "Why her and not for yourself?" "First of all, I don't think I'd be personally fine having a persicum as I have my peerage to keep me company." "Blah, you need to see the cuteness, I mean even that Surziches buys the laptop versions to have something cute to watch to do his notes or paperwork." "If I were to guess, Grafia limits him to just those or the chibi models." "Well I mean Grafia and him did break the special made Persomkins that almost got them on the ban list." The voice held a snickering tone on what she meant on breaking, so they are now only able to buy Yorha types, which can burn even our budgets or the laptop's girls. Upon hearing this, Sona ended up having a brief picture of Grafia, Surzich and an android in bed, and the rest was quickly understood. They must have gone through a lot if it got them banned by wrecking the models by accident. She cringed and thought. "I'm surprised they didn't hold back at all on their nightly activities after the first model or two." "Ah. You thought of me, you and that cutie you made together in Night of Passion, didn't you?" No, she was thankful that her sister couldn't see her face. It was nearly impossible to get both thoughts off her mind now. "Sister, you were around the time before the creator vanished, right? I heard that you and the other Maos meet him before the Yorha was made." "You guessed right, so Tan. But it was unfortunately a time encounter." "What was he like?" she asked, thinking nothing wild imaginations of a man unparalleled in intelligence to create beings that could think like humans. "I can't seem to wrap my head on someone who has that much knowledge." "He seemed nice and innocent for starters. Even extremely cute to boot." "Cute, was he young?" "Human years wise." She added, knowing that her sister was a hardcore lesbian, rarely bisexual, but does have a thing for men if they were cute like that one girly boy android with the pink hair in her shows. "If I were to remember, he's like around your age when we last saw him." "You never seen him again?" That was something odd if her sister liked something especially cute stuff. There was no way that boy was going to be left a virgin if her sister had anything to say about it. "Like I said before, it was a one-time encounter." "That time seemed forced. Is he a problem to us?" she asked as her sister on the line didn't say anything. "Ni-chan." "It was arguable given what we asked of him." "Did you want his Yorha androids?" she asked, knowing the combat prowess was almost close to borderline army for a single unit. "Yeah." "Did you threaten him?" "Me? Satan, no. I was the most kind towards him as I'm in charge of foreign affairs. I have to do this quite often, and if I try to be forceful on him then it'll ruin my reputation." "I also figure that you offer yourself to sweeten the deal." Sona thought as her sister would do it even if the deal didn't need it. "Surziches?" "No." He was still trying to get back on his good side throughout the whole meeting. He was giving the creator a back massage and had Grafia feeding him. "Then who was it?" "Ajuka." Ajuka was like the other Maos without a doubt, but when it came to protecting the race, it either proved good or bad, but he had own axe to grind with the creator who outbeat him in making something. He was rarely jealous, but this creator not only flaunt his skills, but also on the debut of the twins challenge anyone to recreate or beat his creations. Which even to the Beelzebub leader Shame could never beat. He was very adamant in wanting his hands into the creator's exclusive works as he thought it'll increase our numbers through the Devil P system without converting non-devils. Yet things went south along the way, costing us greatly in this chance of a lifetime. Sona could practically imagine her sister forming an extreme pout. "We never let Ajuka down on what he screwed us over on." "I never would have believed it," Sona honestly said, "but he was just a human, not sound like a certain air." "But wasn't there anything to win him over?" "Well, that was the thing, all he wanted was..." Ding dong ding dong. Sona rose a brow as her head snapped towards her front door. Who could that be at this hour? Upon hearing the doorbell rung again, she called out. "Give me a moment." She then turned towards her phone. "Sister, I'll call you back." Once hanging up and reaching the door, Sona opened it to see a human woman in a delivery attire standing next to a human-sized box. "Shatori, Sona?" "Yes, that's me." She saw a dark-haired woman wearing the flammable delivery uniform, complete with the hat. Her jaw moved as she seemed to be chewing gum. "Order said that delivery was here instead at your friend's house." "We couldn't find, sorry about that," spoke the delivery woman. "Do you mind if I wheel this inside of your home or leave this where it is?" Sona blinked when registering what was spoken to her. Shaking her head, she moved to the side and ushered the employee inside. "Please come in." Do you need some help?" "No, and before you ask, I am a persicum," the woman said, lifting the object easily. "I'm just one of the early models to get a mature minced." She placed it in the living room as she lifted electronic signing sheet, "Name and number, ma'am." She once more tugged her hat downwards. As Sona did so, the woman gave a quick scan of the place. "Mighty big place for a small girl," she said offhandedly as Sona passed the object to her. "Alright. Hope you enjoy your purchase. And if you're looking for the instructions, they are inside of the container. I see, thank you miss. Ah, don't worry about it, we'll meet again soon. She winked at her as the machine left the woman's house. Once more Sona felt a bit of chill with that last word being so friendly. Shaking her head, the citriere formed a magical circle in order to quickly cut through most of the packaging in order to get better access towards its contents. Once done, she opened the flaps and slid out the android with the instructions tied onto her arm. Prying them off, the young devil looked over the little startup instructions, getting her to quickly fetch her laptop to get things underway. Necessary plugins and connections were done while inserting the codes typed down onto the sheets provided to her. It was quite the process, but the citriere dealt with worse given past assignments and paperwork she worked in the past. Okay, now how to turn you on. Sona noticed the instructions and moved the page that needed. She looked up from her paper, before glancing it downward, to turn it on, place fingers between the Prosomcom's legs and flip switch. She was read once more. If this was some kind of joke, maybe she would send a Juka-sama a gift basket. Taking it out from the box and placing it on the ground on its back, Sona blushed intensified when she saw the silky lingerie that it had on. Boy, this was a bit of a harder gift to use than she gave credit for. Wait, if the girls were like this, wouldn't that mean the boys back to reality? Sona. She slapped her cheeks to remind her objective. Smack, smack. After doing the necessary motions of waking up the android, Sona saw its eyes glow for a brief moment before the eyelids opened and closed as if they were blinking. Okay, so it wasn't a bad joke, score 1 for the creator. Seeing this, Sona smiled before shutting her laptop shut. Alright, now let's get things underway. Location. Kuo Academy. So what is it? Sona sat across from her childhood and closest friend, who looked slightly down from her usual cheerful mood. I got you something. Come on, Miss Yuzuki. Opening the door, Ria soon saw what Sona had kept secret for her for most of the day. Standing in the doorway was a woman that was around Graffia's height and stature. Even her composure was practically the same given her maid-like appearance. This was where some similarities ended, as this Victorian-themed maid wore a indigo-colored attire that matched her indigo eyes and hair. Said hair was braided in long pigtails that reached towards her knees. Lady Ria, she curtsied to the red-haired woman who almost openly drooled at the sight of the android. She wasn't a player for the other team, but Sona did put down her as an otaku, so they gave her the Yuzuki, the earlier mascot of the company, when the Nichan models were wanted the most during its time. When they were kids, the first models were almost at the same amount as a full combat and domesticated Yorha unit, and Ria's was one of the few pillar children not get her before they lost the favor on the creator. I am Yuzumi, I hope to be your side for as long as we both shall live. Tilting her head slight to her left side, she gave a motherly smile to the woman. Sona had to admit maybe there was more than just standard secretarial duties to this machines, they can mend the heart and soothe the soul. Ria's had to pinch herself a little before slapping her face to see if she were dreaming or not. Much to her pleasure, this wasn't the case at all. You got me a perscom? Yes, I have. Why? Sona sighed. You'd probably guess it first as a delayed birthday gift or getting you it ahead of time. But this is not the case. I got you this due to you not feeling great as your eventual day is breathing down your neck. Confessed the citriere. I wanted you to have Yuzuki as a way of feeling better, as a little coping mechanism. Sona Ria softly said, as her eyes watered slightly. You didn't have to, but she lowered her head as she shook with both gratitude and sorrow. This is the most wonderful gift you have ever gotten me. You even know that he hates them and won't even think about touching Yuzuki-san. She gasped out, unable to control this wonderful feeling that was overpowering the despair she was feeling for weeks. Sona rolled her eyes a little when remembering hearing about the incident through the devil grapevine. Ria's betrothed had gotten his hands on the android his little sister Ravel got as a birthday gift. Said android seemed to have caught the Phoenix Heir's eyes, causing him to test the waters per se. Suffice to say, things didn't turn out well at all. Wasn't that only time Surzich has allowed a Yorha to enter into Riser's home? Sona said with a smile, hoping to cheer Ria's spirits. Yeah, when he was about to break it when it didn't want to have fun. Ani-sama allowed 2 units to enter his home and despite not injuring him, made Razor destroy his own mansion and was grounded for a whole year. Ria's barely contained her giggling when she knew the reason why was that Surzich's was now able to get the band lifted from him to get just one android to get. And it's been nearly a few years as he and his wife argue which one to get. And even now Ria's has to keep track on the pros and cons for each one they want. Although many believe that his parents also allow this to happen to also get a chance to get one. Devil's a lazy race that also love eye candy to do their work. Luckily Ravel still kept her persicum. Would have been hard to see her without it as she quickly got attached to her companion. Indeed, even the 2 units were tasked to retrieve it when seeing how the love the owner had towards her gift. She took great care towards the android like it was a living, breathing being and didn't treat it any different. So warning was placed that if her brother tried to mess around with it again, then they'd be forced to take it away from Ravel. Needless to say, they never returned, though the heavy warning wafted over the Phoenix heir's head by his parents, as they'd rain all kinds of hell on him if he broke his little sister's heart like before. Iria stopped what she was going to say when she saw a cup of darling tea in front of her. "Let me get this for you, my lady." Thus she placed a few sugar cubes into the tea before stirring it without the spoon hitting the cup, not letting the stirring be anything less than fast. "I have a feeling Akeno will be jealous with Yuzuki around." "Probably. That or might be relieved on some of her duties." Ria snickered a little. "True. Might end up having her focus on her devil duties a bit more. Even training on her skills." The moment was something Sona was hoping to receive, seeing her friend and rival act normally even it was short while. "You do know you shouldn't have Akeno, even the others, primarily focus on their devil duties all the time. They do have their own lives." Ria's blushed as she nodded. "I got it. I can't help but worry about them. Razor won't touch them if they are capable of doing what he calls a good job," she stated as Sona smiled. "How about lying to him that Akeno's bust is fake and Kaneko-sen is gay? He respects if a girl likes a girl, and hearing about a fake size turns him off worse than a gay pillar member eyeing on him." She gave some advice as Ria's facepalm on her hand. "Damn it, I forgot about it." She whined as her maid pulled her into her bosom and sighed in relief. "I am so going to get you the best gift for Yuzuki-san." She moaned as the maid caressed her head softly. "It's fine, you're under stress. Out of us, I tend to think in stressful events better because I need to see the bigger picture." Ria's nodded for a brief moment as she sipped her drink. "On to other things, have you had an eye on a potential peerage member?" "I do see potential in Saji. He has dragon energy in him, but I am still hoping to get him," Sona stated as Ria smirked in a cat-like fashion. "Oh, your childhood crush on a certain innovator?" She teased as Sona had to bite the inside of her cheek to kill any blush that will appear. Coughing into her hand, she glanced at a rival. "And what of you, Rias? You still have pieces to spare?" "That I do. Any that have caught your eye?" "There is one boy, as I have Kaneko keeping a close eye on him for better detail." "You mind telling me who it is? And risk me losing him to you?" "Nope." Sona merely gave Rias a bland look before rolling her eyes. "Then I best be on my way. Have things to do and take care of." "Please take care, Miss Sona," Yuzuki stated with kind courtesy. Unbeknownst to them, her and her new owner, her eyes were glowing slightly. Liv streaming the whole talk before it turned off, as if she didn't realize herself. "Location? Undisclosed. Good idea in having this model planted in such a manner," a young girl with long white hair stated as she turned to two other members with the same hair color. "Nines. D. Tonight. Tonight, maybe tomorrow of same time. Just depends on what else we can get from this Ria's character." A male boy with a blindfold covering his eyes had a holographic video feed of Rias being fed food by their Yuzuki unit. "Although we might not get much given this girl's otaku-ness. Understandable, as we got as much information we needed from Sona prior to her winning Yuzuki. Yet we hardly knew anything on the Gremory heir, personality and psychologically wise." "No doubt. I say she's just a spoiled bimbo," the first unit stated as the other two nodded while the male gave his 2 cents. 50 creds as she is." "I agree, but we can't jump to it right away. We must assess the situation to the fullest before getting into the next phase of our father's return. We need to hurry, we have no further leads," the short-haired woman stated, slowly pacing back and forth. "We don't have anything to work on, we need to do this now." She panicked as the male gripped her shoulders, making less tense and regain her composure. "Hopefully what will happen next won't hamper things. Until then, we'll still observe Rias before making our final call. And even afterwards, doesn't hurt to see what else is going on with one of the devil overseers of Kuo. And what of Sona Citri? Do like we have done before. The birds? Naturally. But is there anything else? For now no," Nine stated before looking at the clock. "Who wants to take the first shift on watching father?" He asked as he would love to, but these members were the closest to him beside the twins. "I will," the short-haired woman stated, leaving the two as she entered a room that was filled with white flowers, and in the middle was a large tube with thick blue glass. She rubbed it to melt away some frost to see a young man inside of it, a blush appear as she said one word. "Creator." Location? Sona's home. Time? Evening. The day had gone well for the spectacled heir to House Citri. School was relatively fine. Reports from her peerage weren't bad at all, as neither member ran into any problems when going through their routine requests. She even got in contact with Saji and had decided to offer him in not only joining the student council, but also making him a devil. Sure, the discussion was hesitant at best towards the human male as he was debating on the whole situation. It was only natural and it was something Sona appreciated greatly. By the end of the day, the third-year student accepted her honor in joining her group. After converting Saji into her peerage with 4 of her pawns, she was able to see a benefit of what power dwelled inside of him. The absorption line sacred gear. Said divine equipment contained the soul of Vritra, the evil black dragon king. The Citriere considered this a good boom for her group and hoped that through enough training and earning better loyalty towards her new addition, she'd be another step closer towards her dream. She took out her pieces and laid them in front of her 3 pawns, a rook and lastly a knight. Those were her only evil pieces left to use, and hopefully one will be used for the one person she wanted most of all. The creator. Inwardly she was nothing less than embarrassed that her crush for that man never wilted away. Someone with that much knowledge was something she craved and wanted to match wits. In fact they did battle. She was still a kid when she first got her own PC, before the prices of the persicums were dropped dramatically. She loved playing online chess, unbeatable in the forums, until the username the creator 9th, he had no pawns and took away his own queen. And still beat her with that disadvantage and at the same time stole her heart. Easy, she admits, but can one blame her for her first childhood crush? Whenever possible, given if it were free time or by chance, she'd research more on the creator in hopes of learning more about him. Finding out more of his past and finding out his whereabouts in hopes of not only meeting her idol, her crush, but to request in having him join her peerage. She didn't care if he was much older than him by this point. All she'd want was to have her by her side. Learn from him, be by him and possibly something more. Ding dong. Oh, that must be one Isama. She thought, moving to the door as she opened it. Welcome home. She however saw lid match falling to the floor as she tried to move back, only for hand to grab her collar to make her step forward. She saw the match flare up into a 5-point star as alcohol was in the air, a demon trapping seal. That was old, way old for any human to know. Blueberry vodka, answer to life's problems. A woman held a bottle of the liquid, said with a smirk. Well, to most humans. She said before turning her head behind her. Oi, you got the neighbors drugged yet? She demanded as another person appeared before Sona and something for once scared her. It was the android she met yesterday and this morning. You're the malfunctioning bodyguard and the delivery girl. She suddenly exclaimed as the woman patted her cheek, condescending manner. Oh, she actually thinks. You're coming with us. The dark-haired android explained as her hand trailed down to Sona's shirt. Devil seals robs your powers, so you are weak as a regular girl. Zima, the man simply said, no need to harass her. Fine. She withdrew her hand and placed a temporary tattoo on Sona's hand. It was same marking as the seal below her feet. Walk and be natural. She demanded, but Sona didn't move. In case you don't understand basic Japanese, don't move and I will kill you. I don't care. Do it, but know that your own brethren will hunt you down. I heard the news, any deviant models are cut from the main network and are hunted down. I don't even have to die to them to shut you down in a few seconds. The 2 androids merely looked at each other, causing them to scoff. Who said we're deviating? This merely made Sona rather worried on top of her current predicament, wondering what exactly is going on. Before she could question this, a car pulled up just as a black bag covered her head, obscuring her vision and senses. To which Sona was then shoved into the car, with it eventually taking off into the night. Location. Undisclosed location. Time. Unknown. Move. The Zima model pushed Sona forward as they finally exited a long elevator ride. 10 paces forward, there's a chair. Take it and don't think about escaping. The seal has inks that can only be washed with a special liquid. You will receive after the meeting. She said as Sona did what she was told. When reaching the 10th pace, she moved her hands aimlessly to indeed feel a leathery chair. Sona wasn't a stranger to these types of kidnappings. Why, it was by the church using and killing the people who gain a contract or jealous lower-class devils. But this was something Carrie, the fact she can't use her familiars or send out energy to her peerage or sister. What kind of person knows ancient devil sealing that even the church had forgotten? She stopped her thoughts when she heard a door slid open. She must be in a high-tech building from what she could concluded. I won't be scared by likes the you or any organization you have made. She declared until a chuckling male voice echoed the room, and it echoed, leading to a conclusion that it must be pretty large area. Sorry for the whole cliché kidnapping routine, Ms. Citri. I would have had you properly escorted here with just the mere black bag stick, but that option was outvoted. The voice was young, but not at all any real emotion to it. Just stating the facts to another person who was asking. Oh please, everyone else here was practically bored and wanted to have some fun, excitement. Sona tilted her head to the left as she heard another door sliding, as the voice was full of rebellious spirit and beepy. Well, we do take after him, so it's kinda in our code. Another male said before a metallic ringing was heard. I just hope this works. Another door was sliding as a pair of panting feminine voices came. Sorry, sis, and I got stuck in the desert. We have to upload when we finally got a signal. I asked for you to check the time before we left. The other voice came, accusing the sister, as Sona heard raspberry sound as a retort. "Then someone take off her blindfold before we lose face," the first voice yelled out as Sona shook her head. "Too late for that," she whispered before a sharp tug on her hair made her suck in air from the pain. And this before the tight blindfold was cut off, releasing the tension of her eyewear towards her face. "You could have taken off my glasses before the blindfold," Sona growled. "Now the frame is going to be a hassle to fix." "Oh, shut up." The woman walked up to her field of vision, the female kidnapper, but she was twirling a knife in her hand as she and the male kidnapper stood in front of her. "Alright devil, welcome to the circle." She threw the knife at Sona only to barely cut a few strands of her hair, but frowned to get no reaction. "You have ice in your veins?" she rhetorically asked as Sona realized the big truth. "You all are androids," a stunned voice came from her lips. This wasn't happening. She can understand two of these diaventing, but she saw the newest Connor model, 3 Orha androids units, and the original Popola and Devola, given the white flowers on their heads that the creator plucked for them during their debut. "Isn't it obvious, Ms. Citri?" spoke one of the circle members. It was the only male Yorha member. A young-looking white-haired and a short haircut, Nines, the extremely intelligent of all the Yorha units. Often compared to be the same level as their creator. The Kuo student narrowed her gaze towards her captors. "Why am I here? What's the purpose of taking me from my home?" There's quite a lot of ideas running through her mind right now. One is a hostage situation as she's not only the heir to the Citri clan, but also the current Leviathan's younger sister. So she's bound to be worth a lot in various manners. The second could be her being used in experimentations. The possibilities in what could happen to her in this are endless to hopefully see one's limits or testing new weaknesses which could be exploitable. Despite what ran through her mind, Sona had a gut feeling none of those were the case. And this begged a question she voiced moments ago. First off, the Connor model pulled up a chair that the floor made a small section summon it from underground. "We heard that you devils don't tend to make deals with our kind. Why is that?" "Oh, here we go," Nines groaned, taking a step back as he slid his hand over his face. Connor just smiled. "I'm just asking, Nines, I mean ever since the androids right when the American branch back in 2013 happened. It seems that we got rights just as much as humans, so why not getting the same treatment from the devils, angels, and fallen angels? Not to mention the other religious factions out there." He asked Sona once more, his kind and eerily calm smile never leaving his lips. "I don't know about the angels and fallen, but the Mayu screwed up with the creator during negotiations. We barely got back the right to purchase persicums. We didn't want to angry the creator a second time, as most our data were now dependent on him and our magic." Sona simply stated as she was taught by her sister and what she and Riaz gather over the years when they couldn't get their own from childhood curiosity. "I hope that in giving you this information," she started, but Zima leaned in to make her fingertips all touch together. "Zip it," she ordered as Connor nodded. "Cool, so we got our info, and now the big question, can we request a devil to help solve a problem of ours without being double-crossed, per se?" the detective android asked in a serious manner. Connor spoke again, this time with a more calculated tone. "Now the only reason we had to kidnap you is because we couldn't reach any other devil. True to the point, they are many despite the losses due the great wars you went through. But your peerage." Sona turned her head to see the elegant and lovely 2B offered her word to the man android, who resumed his speech. "Those. Especially of you, Riaz and Riser as some examples. You tend to be a little dramatic when your slaves are in danger," he said with a shrug. Sona however just looked confused to them. "A request? All this for a simply request? Hey, show some kindness." Zima warned the woman as she didn't care for that devil's comment. Sona took a deep breath as she nodded. "Depends. I can't exactly make you all human or real." She turned to the twins who seemed to be snorting at her words. "Something I said amuse you too?" The sister with the straight hair spoke. "We don't want to be human." "Why would we?" Devola, the sister with the luxurious curly hair, nodded. "We have the greatest perks in the world. We can't die the traditional routes humans go through, and even if our bodies are gone, as long as we do our routine backups, we basically more immoral than you supernatural beings. No aging, no illnesses, and especially no dying." Sona did admit to that logic, but that begs the bigger question that she had to ask. "Then what's the request?" They all became deadly quiet, not one wanted to speak, only looked at one another who would tell her. But it seems no one had the courage to do so until the oldest Yorha model stepped forward. The only one of her kind, A2, the most powerful and deadliest of all the models in the army of Yorha. Even devils fell to her blade when an idiot low-rank radical devil thought attacking the HQ of the Flemel Maelstrom Corporation might have earned him a peerage and title. What he lacked in smarts he made more than power, and even then it barely took A2 to rip him apart limb by limb. She looked down from the height that Sona was forced to look upwards to see her eyes. She used to be afraid of that look, however it was only an inquisitive look in those ruthless eyes. "Before we tell you our request, tell us," A2 demanded in a soft tone. "What do you know of the creator?" He was the reason you and your kind nearly jump-started a whole lot of things at the turn of the century. Sona said in the most basic of summarization. He made the first ever humanoid supercomputer Prasankham when around the 1980s the internet went globally. Then in 2 years, they kept advancing with the aided division of the Yorha project. That private military company was created to keep the HQ safe. Then the UN allowed the armies to all have contracts with the company to send one and upgrades, as they tremendously lower casualties when war broke out. And no country was allowed to fight against another that had a Yorha unit, as anyone who would break their contract would be targeted by everyone else. She ran off as the others were just looking at her, some seemingly bored or mildly paying attention, and Connor was the only one who nodded to allow her to continue. I also know that no major wars broke out due to this, and any uprisings were culled at the mention of Yorha units being considered of going on the attack. Yes. We all know of these details. Spoke one of the circle. But was there anything else? I also learned that fact that in 1997, where he visited a family friend in Atlanta, Georgia, that he was seen coughing blood. She said but gasped as A2 had a sword aimed at her neck. 2 months later he was flown back to the Japanese HQ to never have public view again. Many believed that he was dying until the Connor and Jason's models were out and the newest units to be added. After that, he hasn't been seen or heard from since. Not many knew that tidbit on Georgia. Connor stated as he placed his chin in his interlocked fingers. I've done my research. Commendable. Though this begs the question, why do you have interests in him? She stopped before blushing lightly. I want to see him even just once. All I ever wanted ever since I could remember, seeing his inventions and talents every day in the streets. Was just to talk to him. Just like many others, Ms. Citri. Spoke A2. Either seeking power or influence in the modern world through him. After all, much of his knowledge can topple many competitors if he truly went into it. Not to mention. But I'm not like that. Sona blurted out. She quickly shied a little when each of their gazes were set onto her. I only. 9 spoke suddenly, 1995, 1997, 1998, 2000, 2001. What are you saying? Sona asked as the teen android smiled. All the summarized years we heard that line when father's stalkers get too desperate. But better acting this time than last year's. He clapped in a mocking fashion. Like when a drama queen knows when to milk it. I'm telling the truth here. Then tell us, why would we allow you, a devil, to get close to the creator? Much less meet him. 2B finally asked her own question to the devil. What makes you different from the whores that want to be known as father's wife or take his money and power? My dream. This caused the room's other occupants to blink in confusion. It was Connor who decided to voice their shared thought. Would you mind elaborating this to us? Hearing the gesture, Sona spoke the honest truth. My dream is to open a rating game school in the underworld. This merely confused her interrogators. A school. That's all. I thought it would have been something rather outlandish. My unimpressed reaction certainly annoyed her, but she could understand to some degree. It's not just a school, but a school that will allow devils of any status or background to learn. Highborn, lowborn, and converted. Releasing a sigh, she looked up in order to hopefully look at the interrogators in the secluded room. As what you all possibly may know, rating games can change a devil's life completely if they get the chance to participate. Her features grew bitter as she went on. The rules of devil society sadly prevents that, unfortunately. Only devils of high-class status or above are given the right to form peerages and participate in rating games. No ifs, ands or buts. I want to change that. I want the people who have the drive to aim for greatness to receive the chance they deserve. Things were rather silent for a moment for two before Zima spoke up. Can we ask you why? Given our knowledge of the underworld, many devils usually don't care for the lower classes. Spoke another in a disgusted tone. What my colleague has hoped to understand along with the rest of us is what made you want to change this. Nines requested. That is a fair question as to any. Sona nodded as her gaze grew distant, remembering memories as if they were yesterday. I guess everything started when I was a little girl. That to my shame, I was like most devils that I now detest. I used to be selfish and self-absorbed and never really cared for the lower classes, believing myself as better simply because of my pedigree and rank. It didn't help the fact that I was the younger sister of Seraphol Leviathan. Yet everything changed when my sister took me to a festival that was held in the capital. At one point, I got lost in the crowd and tried looking for her. However, I only encountered more problems along the way. Such as. It's a common prank within devil youths to place teleportation traps in random places for unknowing people to walk into and teleport them to who knows where. She explained in grimace, the memory of the event clearly not a pleasant one at all. By the time I realized it, I ended up in one of the slums of one of the extinct houses territory far away from my sister home. She rubbed her arm at the memory with how scared she was on experiencing this prank firsthand. At the time I was still learning how to use magic and didn't know how to properly teleport home or call for help. The only thing I could do was look around and hope I could find help. Her hands then tightened around her arms. I never saw such poverty and poor living conditions before. I lived in the clean and peaceful streets of the Citri territory, so everything that I saw was all quite shocking to me. Before I knew it, some thugs saw me and realized by my clothes that I was nobility, and they thought that they could get a good chunk of money by ransoming me. Though looking back at it now, some of their expressions were easily read on them wanting to do something worse. The grip of her arms tightened even further. I ran and ran, so scared of them and everything that was happening. As you can imagine, they caught up with me and immobilized me. At that moment I didn't care who or what it was, I wanted nothing but someone to save me. The spark of admiration ignited in her eyes as she went on. It was at that time that he came walking by. He was a member of the slums, I could tell by the way he looked, and by all means he had no reason to help me, and yet he confronted the four men and tried to save me. I still remember it even after so many years. It was simply breathtaking. His speed, his strength, his dexterity, all of those were far greater than any of the high-class devils I grew up around. And what happened after that? Question 2b. When he was done, he took me to a nearby outpost so I could get help and go back home. It was as we walked there that I built up my courage and asked him how he was able to reach such strength. In spite of the poverty and poor living conditions, he was very sharp and instantly caught on to why I was so confused. He told me that one's blood or status doesn't amount to one's strength, it is the power of one's conviction that can be turned into true strength. It was those words that changed my life. For a few brief moments she went silent, a sad longing filling her eyes. That was the first and last time I saw the man. I never even got the chance to thank him for saving me. I couldn't help but imagine how amazing he could have been if he were able to participate in raiding games, but it was then that reality checked in, and I realized he wouldn't have been allowed to do so due to his low status. Only high class and above were given the privilege of receiving evil pieces. Her mood began to turn sour as she went on. It wasn't long before I realized that there are probably many like him out there. There are people with immense potential, talent, and skill that struggle and aren't allowed the chance to prove themselves due to their situation or circumstances. Her voice and gaze spoke high levels of determination. So I decided to try and change that. The school is my plan to do it. One day all devils will get the chance they deserve to have. Seems like the wonderful dream, Ms. Citri. Nines commented. Indeed it is. Sona spoke as bitterness soon filled her voice. Yet changing the old ways of my society will be one of the hardest challenges I'll ever face. The only reason the evil P system was allowed in the first place was out of necessity, in order to rebuild our race after the last biblical war and the underworld civil war. If there wasn't the risk of my race's extinction, such an idea wouldn't have been considered, let alone approved by anyone. Her hands balled into fists as her gaze gained a hardened, yet soft feel to them. I have quite the long struggle ahead of me in order to make my dream a reality. It's the reason why I'm attending school at Kuo. I want to learn more about the human system so I can integrate and think through the ideas, flaws, strengths all, so I can find a better way to achieve my lifelong dream. Digesting the story that was recently told, a thought was shared amongst the group. To which Zima bluntly voiced it. And what does this relate with the creator? As I started working towards my dream, I eventually came across the creator with all good he has done for the world. I was knowledgeable on his creations on the basic level, but I soon dwelled deeper and learned what I could possibly take from him, per se. He hoped to manage peace as best as possible. He hoped to have equality for all, even with his creations. I used some of his goals as some basis on my dream. It's not much, but I wish this could pay off in the long run. Connor looked back at the rest. Alright, I am convinced. Even if what you lastly said seemed a tad rough. But I can tell you're very genuine in your response, Ms. Citri. All in favor? He said as Nines, Zima and her partner lifted their hands. A2 slowly did, and lastly 2B sighed and raised her hand. Alright, do you want to meet father? Sona's heart skipped a beat or two. Hard to really tell with her mind seemingly rebooting itself with what she just heard. Did the Connor model really meant that? To meet with the man she always admired? Oh of course, is this request for him? Connor took a breath of air, although he technically didn't need to stop her. Father is dying. And we literally have no other option but to ask for higher help. Hearing this made her heart drop. I don't understand. What do you mean he's dying? Nines get the first and second, if this fails they need to say their goodbyes. Connor ordered the advanced soldier who agreed while leaving the room. He stood up as he helped Sona as well. I'll explain, after the visit with his friend. As to what you researched, father was indeed coughing up blood and showed signs of degeneration of cells and health. We did everything known to man and all tests show negative results. If left alone he would have a week tops. He explained with a sigh. He didn't care, only asked us to stay with him. So. Nines took it from there, we put him in a cryosleep for nearly 20 years. He finished, and even then we just prolonged the condition. He only has another year or two in cryosleep before it finally kills him. A2 chuckled as they enter elevator, we did everything space exploration to ancient medicines. Nothing worked until we remembered you devils. She bluntly stated. Walking alongside the androids, Sona then asked the obvious question that came to mind. Then why would you request my help? Fix him any way possible, convert if you have to. Zima explained as she walked behind the female devil, who momentarily stopped in her step. We know the devils can't catch any human illnesses that easily. And if they do, it is gone when reincarnated. We do not care if father hates us or orders our cores to be gone. We need to enjoy life for giving us our own lives. Sona had to shallow as she was given a 1 and no, this was not even a chance, like the creation of the universe. Nothing else would top this moment. Given the chance to have the creator as a member of her peerage. It's not the first time, neither will it be the last, of someone being revived from the dead via evil peace. It's normally done when one is freshly dead as no complications would arise. For instance, no one knowing someone had recently perished, and if he or she were to be brought back with prior knowledge to this, then many problems and drawbacks would surface. Not to mention of one's soul claimed to a certain afterlife like heaven or Valhalla in the Norse pantheon for examples. If dead for so long, then the person wouldn't be revived as a devil quite right or won't come back at all. But if he is as fresh as they explained, then forget drawbacks. If anything, this will be less of a trial due to dying or already dead would cost another pawn or power to pull back the soul. Nearly any high-class devil would sell their families to get this much power and influence of the human world. But there is a catch: power. While Sona loved his mind, others like Razor only want powerful beings in their peerages. That's why many humans were primarily sought after, they have sacred gears in them than most devils or angels. If the creator had none, then many devils would be in turmoil at either getting something stronger or settled for lower class devil with no additional powers. Thankfully she wanted him for her own reasons, not by her race's standards. But why have you brought me here instead of some other devil? We considered using someone else, A2 spoke, but it didn't hurt to research on them. Neither of us wanted our father to be used as a dog. Zima spoke out. If we were to contact someone else, then they'd no doubt exploit the fuck out of him. Both literally and figuratively. A2 gave a perverse smile, although most women would do so if given the chance. 2B and Zima merely smiled slightly with light blushes, indeed fuck yeah. They said as Sona also nodded inwardly to that statement. Haha, I wonder how you girls started to see father like so. The Connor unit laughed as they reached their floor. Follow me. He stated as Sona was in awe as they enter a room that was filled with white flowers around a single large tube. Sorry for the excessive amount. Most of us are rather sentimental. Father loved gardening when he was awake. 2B gently caressed a nearby flower. Before anything could happen, Nines came with 2 beings Sona never seen before. Behind him were identical girls, but they were persicums, but the models were in the types she had seen. Even the exclusives were on a special list, but still counted among the list. Both of them wore elegant gothic Lolita dresses in pink and black respectively. One wearing a somber expression while the other had a sweet smile. Who are they? Father's first children. Sona was baffled upon hearing this coming from A2's mouth. First. I thought that Popola and Devola were the first models of the Yorha and that Yuzuki for the persicums. I never seen those girls or model before, Sona stated as she saw the 2 girls standing beside the tube before taking out their plugs and inserted to the sides. Elda and Freya, creator's personal persicums. 2B stated with a soft look. They together can outpace any core AI system in the world. Elda, Freya, are you sure? Nines asked the 2 girls who only nodded. Alright, open the tube. He stated as the girls' heads moved upwards as their pupils turned into a static frequency you see on old television as the tube started to move. It was no longer in a diagonal position as it laid on its back, the blue color slowly faded as a clear color soon overtook it. The glass was soon retracted into the metal parts as now the creator was finally revealed to Sona. She took a step forward, but it felt like it was miles away from him, the fact he was there made it more frightening than she thought. Soon taking another and another she finally reached to the table, the body of the man who created something those can only dream. But instead of middle-aged man or even an elderly man, it was something that made her heart ache and pace faster than anything. What lay before her was a young man perhaps even a year or 2 younger than her or even a tad older, with spiky golden hair that resembled the sun, 3 whiskers marks on each cheek. But what intrigued her was the fact he had a healthy skin tone and build despite being sick. What was the saddest thing was that faint sweet smile he had on his sleeping face, as if dying wasn't on his mind, but being with the people he loves in his final moments. I know Sir Rafael said he looked around my age when she last saw him, Sona thought with widened eyes, but I didn't expect. So are you gonna do it now or what? Zima rudely said, before getting an elbow into the ribs. Okay, ow. Don't be rude in front of father, Dumbus. A2 sternly reminded as the dark android blushed from being called out. Compassing herself, Sona reached into her pockets and pulled out her remaining evil pieces of her rook, knight and 3 pawns. What piece should I use? She wasn't going anywhere unless she gauged his power, so she wouldn't make mistakes and cost any more of his time. Placing a hand in his chest, she tried pull out any energy she could find, the easier it felt or she can sense the more powerful he is. A simple way to archive this was adding a sample of her to his. Like throwing rock to a water, the ripple effect would spread until it died out or reached the edge. Sending a small bit into his. Soon the whole room was suddenly filled with a booming wind pressure coming from the devil and comatose teen. The flowers were slowly turning gold as the androids suddenly appeared behind Sona, all drawing guns or swords at her. What did you do? Connor said, placing a handgun at Sona's head. He isn't sick, he's bloated with power. She declared with a smile filled with pure happiness. His sacred gear, well, what I assume it to be, was causing him to intake too much power. Usual they come out in a way. But it just build up, it's like eating too much and becoming tired from it. The heiress explained as she let go of his chest, knowing the problem was that his body couldn't hold that much power. Converting him should stop the problem and still have him into her peerage. Still, this much power, I need at least 5 to 6 pawns. I better use a knight to be on the safe side. Thus, after moving away from her, the android saw icy blue magic seal over his chest. Putting the other pieces back into her pocket, the heiress placed a blue-colored knight on the creator and started to focus. So will this work? He becomes a devil and he has a bigger cup to fill the energy. Nines asked as he saw the magic circle was now red, a standard when converting any human to devils. It's harder to explain, but that is the basis of the idea. Nothing else was spoken by the androids as Sona began to chant. In the name of Sona Sitri, I call upon the creator and heed my call. Return thy soul to the mortal plane from the breaches of life and death. They all were waiting with bated breath as the chant continued in the devil language. Many of them were standing still, unable to be hopeful or in fear if this doesn't work. However, something alarmed them, the seal turned white. The blue evil piece was slowly turning white from the top as Sona still went on with the chant, hoping it wasn't something wrong on her own doing. Rise and rejoice as you have returned with new life, Sona spoke again in the common tongue, my knight and defender of House Sitri. Now it was halfway wide as the flowers around the room started to become gold once more. The androids then saw the last bit of blue vanished as the room was blinded with an intense light as Sona had to cover her eyes while the other androids stood in place. As the light settled, the room returned to normal as the heiress rubbed her eyes to remove any trace of light. After successfully doing so, she saw that the creator was still in place. But he didn't move or show anything signs of breathing, causing Sona to take a step forward. She needed to see if he had any visible changes, like if he was still breathing or at least a stable pulse. Zima shouted from behind, scaring the teen girl as she jumped back as she lost her hold on the edge of the table to fall forward too. MMH. Most of the androids, namely the female models, had shocked expressions as they saw Sona's lips pressed up against the creator's. Oh dear, at least she failed, the devil can die knowing she took father's first kiss. Nine sighed into his palm when his face met with it. Looking back, he saw the heiress still in the same position. Are you just gonna keep doing that and violating our father, or are you going to move? Sona jolted from her spot, prying herself away from the comatose teen. Her cheeks were dusted with a light blush as her eyes had a slight glazed look upon them if one were to gaze at them right now. She even placed a few fingers on her lips as she still felt the pleasing tingle on them as she unintentionally gave him her first kiss. You're so dead. Dita had a dark smile on her face as she pulled out her knife. With the other female models also brandishing their own unique weapons. First we were going to let you live, taking father's precious kiss was something among us were hoping to do to him. Sona only looked flabbergasted in response. All because I took. Her blush grew with each passing second, realizing more on the android's clear reaction, his first kiss. Before anything actions could proceed, the chamber's occupants heard a small intake of sound. It then gradually went into a soft yawn, causing them to snap their attention to the pod. There they saw the creator stir as he started to cough a little, with him taking his first breath of fresh air in 20 years. Eyes, keep it down, I just woke up. Just like that, the android swarmed upon him in a blink of an eye. Whoa, easy every Connor. I thought you were still in the beta testing. The creator said softly. Whoa, 2B. Love the gothic look, but you're supposed to be in France. He said before noticing the others. Wait, why are you guys here? He asked as the teen noticed that these androids weren't the ones he made when he slept yesterday. Humming closer to the pod after getting out of her shock, Sona was able to get a better look of her new peerage member, with new life breathed into him. He was no doubt more livelier with his voice carrying it in volumes. and once she got close enough, she ended up drawing his attention. It was there that she saw a unique trait about him, being his heterochromic eyes, with one being a warm blue color, while the other seemed to be red as rich as blood. "Hello there," he said while giving her a warm smile, which made her heart skip yet again. "I don't think I made you, I hope not, cause your beauty almost beat some of the more unique models," the creator stated, slowly sitting up as he leaned in closer to her. "No, organic, definitely organic," he said to himself, "so beautiful." She fidgeted in her spot in not only nervousness, but also bits of happiness on being complimented by him. As much as she'd like to bask in this further, she needed to address the current situation. Compassing herself, she opened her mouth and… "Wait, you're a devil," he accused as touched her cheek. "By any chance are you related to a woman named Serafal?" he questioned as his fingers brushed over her skin, causing small tingles to run down her spine. "You vaguely look like her. Just more mature in terms of handling yourself." Sona let out a snort with her lips curling upwards. "You assume correct. I am Serafal's younger sister, Sona Citri of House Citri." That made the creator eyes widen. "Wait, that's not right, Serafal told me that she was an only child." He looked down and took a deep breath. "Nines, how long was I asleep?" he asked a more intelligent member of the group. The white-haired android spoke after what seemed like an eternity. "Nearly 2 decades, father, we had to put you in cryosleep when your condition worsened." The teen chuckled. "You guys, even when I say it's fine, you still tried to save me." He stood up as the women suddenly grabbed him when he almost fell. "I got it," he hastily stated as he stood tall and proud to the heiress. "I take it that you're the one who saved my life." He then started moving his limbs and joints as audible cracks could be heard. After being asleep for 2 decades would no doubt cause this to happen. As the creator did so, he let out some moans of discomfort before releasing out sighs of relief. "Damn, gotta remind myself cryosleep doesn't make the joints any better than long-term sleeping," he joked with a painful smile. He smiled and his wonderful and mismatched eyes gazed to Sona's own. "Seems introductions are needed, right?" He held out his hand to the devil before him. "To these guys and to the public, I'm known as the creator. But you can call me Naruto Unamikaze. And thank you," he said, suddenly holding the girl in a hug as he slightly shook when doing so, as he was truly happy to be cured. "Thank you for letting see my children again and having more time." "You're welcome, my new servant," came her soft reply as she returned the gesture. "I just hope you don't use a whip," he slyly joked before feeling a warmth that was felt across her body and nearly stumbled as she went limp. "You okay?" he said, pushing her away to see her face was now blushing red and she fainted. "Why is that?" Connor and Nine snickered at the result, but finally able to see their father's dense mind returning. Perhaps she had an overly active imagination. Naruto, however, placed her on table he was in. A kiss that wakes a prince, rather princess," he mused as the blonde genius crossed her face. "Guys, get a room ready, when she wakes up I figure we need to talk about this devil servant thing in length." "Sir," they all said as they left, saved for the twins, the first children, who moved to their father, who smiled sadly at them. "I'm sorry that I let the illness win like that," he said as the pink dress woman hugged him while the dark dress woman brought her hands to his face and placed her forehead on his. Before pulling back, he shed a tear as the teen lowered his gaze. "I'm back." The two girls now smiled as they were nearly identical with the expression before they said the words they always said to the creator Naruto. "It's a brand new day, father." "Here, father." Nines placed a hot cup of coffee, matcha, and matcha tea in front of Naruto, who at the moment had his original computer than a Persicamer android, reading up what he has missed. Methodically, no less, on every nation. "You should take a breather," he suggested as his father took the matcha tea. "It's fine, I've got quite the amount of catching up to do." He raised his drink at the android. "Gotta at least make sure that right is right and wrong is wrong," the creator of your has stated. "Yes, father," Nines nodded. "Will there be anything else you need?" The teen smiled as he waved off his smartest child. "No, and you didn't have to." He then realized something. Has Sona awakened at least? "She should be up momentarily," Nine said. "Will you need her for anything?" "Don't wake her up, just asking. Get dinner started. Get models Kara and Alice to cook," he said as he knew the two were specialized in home cooking rather than imitating fancy cooking. "That is, unless neither are unavailable." "Yes, father." Nines bowed before turning around to leave. The young man sighed as he continued to read over the past years he has missed. "You can come out A2, 2B," he said aloud as two shadows came from above. Both of them dropped down in front of him to reveal the two girls. A2 was a beautiful young woman with long white hair, but her facial features were similar to 2B's, and she wore a worn-out black leotard that exposed much of her body except her breasts and her lower regions. 2B had silvery white hair, but it was in a bob cut and her eyes were covered by a black bandage as well. Her attire consists of a black dress that fell to just above her knees, wearing black stockings, thigh-length socks, and black boots. "What did I say about eavesdropping?" Naruto asked. It's been 20 years since you said it, A2 drawled out as Naruto stopped and turned to them. We just wanted to make sure you're fine. And I am. It's just going to take a while to get used to. Naruto said, walking up to brush A2's hair off her face. Why aren't you wearing your blindfold and have this ragtag get up? Why not? Don't you like seeing me like this? A2 asked, doing a bit of pose. Aren't I cute? She said, only to stop as the android saw his gaze. A battle got a bit tough and I lost my ID blindfold since your Harem members has the IDs either in their lead, clothing, or accessories. I had 2B and the others to fix the system for me. Now it just takes facial scanning since I'm the only model. Naruto sighed at this. Things have definitely changed in the past 20 years, I'm gonna have to do something about that. He scratched the back of his head. No need, the objective was cleared and I prefer letting my eyes be out. She said before beeping her head to the more scantily clad woman android. Can't say the same about 2B, says her eyes are only for you to see. And why is that, 2B? Naruto asked the other model. No reason. I prefer using my blindfold. She simply said with a soft tone. Is that all? He raised an eyebrow in confusion. Yes, creator. She stated as the woman turned to glare at her sister unit, although Naruto couldn't tell due to her eyes being covered. Alright, if you say so, Naruto shrugged before going back to his seat. Get ready for dinner, he stated as the two left. When making sure the door was closed and they were out of reach from his eyes, 2B sent a punch to A2 who didn't saw it coming. That's for nearly telling why I cover my eyes. She yelled out as A2 gave a crude smile. Well, at least you haven't been slacking off in your training, A2 chuckled. Nice. Changing the subject, the short-haired woman said, the two resumed moving as the younger model spoke. Has Commander White found anything yet? No, not yet, A2 answered, the units are still not found, we'll tell him after he is more used to the present world. Understood. 2B answered. What are we to do until then? Protect father and let her know about the success, she stated with a smile. She isn't going to please with it. Understood. Back to Naruto. All symptoms lead to normal strokes or other causes for my illness. He stated looking at his recent medical records amongst other documents. Nothing I can see even come close to others. The creator been busy calculating and comparing his illness with what as the others tried to figure out, but he had no leads. It's like his body just started to slow down and thus leading to a quiet death. Like a battery that finally ran its course. While knowing the existence of devils and other supernatural races, he has no real substance on their own physiology or if they really are different than humans. So this sacred gear theory might be the only thing that can lead to his answer. CRRK. He sighed when another bone popped out when stretching his neck. That's it, I need some relaxation. He sent a quick message to his loyal persicum to relay a message. Alright, time to get into something more comfortable. Naruto said as he started to take off his clothes one by one while leaving the room. A few minutes later. Sona stirred in her sleep as she enjoyed the comfortable area she was in. She however couldn't sleep anymore as her mind told her to wake up. Tsubaki, sorry that I slept in again, she yawned cutely as the devil said her usual excuse. Who are you talking to? That wasn't Tsubaki. Who was it? She turned to see the persicum that she saw when Lucifer, it wasn't a dream. She really met the creator. Just a friend. She turned to see it was darker dressed persicum, wearing a black gothic Lolita dress. Sona, father wishes you to join him in the massage room. Massage room? Sona stuttered. She certainly didn't expect this. It's by non-gender androids. The dark-clad woman persicum stated as she walked out the room. Please follow. Sona slightly frowned at this, but nonetheless did as told as she got up from bed to straighten herself out before walking out of the bedroom to follow the gothic girl. Just what exactly does the creator want with her? But the more pressing matter is the girl's model. She hasn't seen any custom or regular models. They said she was Naruto's personal one. Are you really one of your own kind like A2 from Yorha? Do you find that strange? The gothic girl questioned, looking over her shoulder with a blank stare. Yes, A2 is nearly an indestructible being given the information they gave publicly and the rules stated only one can be made. So why one of a kind persicum? Prey only looked back with a stone-cold stare. I am not going to say, but I will let you know that I am here for Naruto's sake. She cryptically stated before stopping at a door as the persicum gestured. My lady Sona. The young heiress entered to see Naruto already on the table face down as an android without a face was gently yet methodically massaging his back. He wore a white sparrow as he smiled when noticing the devil's presence. Hello, Sona-san. Naruto muffled greeted from his position, enjoying the hands of his creations. Take a table, these guys are far better than last time I've been here. The blonde stated as he groaned in pleasure when the machine hit and undid a knot that was stressing him since his awakening. That's the spot. The teen heiress blushed as the android slightly undid his robe to show his Sona eyes stared as the symbol of the alchemist was on his back, Flemel's symbol. But the red color was something rare, not many humans know this, but red or blue with that symbol usually meant the mark of mastery for alchemist. She doubt Naruto would placed it now his back without knowing the meaning of it. But in order to get her answers and also befriend her newest member, she would have to bond with him. And this wasn't an excuse to be naked in the same room as her crush, not at all, not even if it meant seeing his totally perfect skin that made Ria's vampire peerage member look pathetic at that perfect shine and flawlessness. Nope, not at all. Undressing herself and quickly facing down to her own massage table, she noticed Naruto head turned to the other side. Did he not find her attractive? She perhaps didn't have the most womanly body next to Ria's or even her sister, but she did had some confidence on her figure that she worked hard on. After so many years, a massage like this feels like utter paradise. Naruto turned back with a bubbly smile on his face, as if he was going to heaven in a moment. Then again, it's been like a night for me technically. He mumbled softly, it's now 2019, and so many things passed by like it was fleeting moment. The creator whispered to himself, unsure if Sona caught what he said or not. Your muscles have been very stiff and have not been active for the duration of your sleep, commented the massage persicum. Mild electric shocks to the targeted areas while I loosen your body will. I know, Isis. Naruto playfully glared at the machine. If a certain crew didn't sleep freeze me, I might have done a quick algorithm to fix that. He explained as he doubted it could happen overnight, but hey, he like a challenge. Might wanna double dose it, I need to stimulate them as much as possible to work like I used to. Work? Sona echoed as she saw the persicum hand generated small lightning before its fingers dance on Naruto's back, blushing as the handsome teen's back slightly arched and his face flushed. Ahem, work. She hoped that it can distract him from doing anything else that would make the Citriaris lose her stoic mask. Right, he moaned out as the teen thoroughly enjoyed the better sensation of the massage. I still have to make new models. I figure the last of my 50 years worth of blueprints might have been made without me seeing them being made. That made the bespectacled woman's eyes blink owlishly. Come again. 50 years of future blueprints. I get bored, he whined as the teen summoned a hologram before swiping it to Sona's table. Yuma and Yuki were supposed to come out in 10 years, not yesterday. I guess Freya made a decision to get the models out faster than I thought. He smiled fondly as the screen went back to him. Clever girl, he complimented, but yeah, this time I gotta go to 100 years ahead. Frey, one of the twin girls who you made exclusively for your own use? She asked as Naruto nodded. Yup, the sweetest girl to be made by me. He gushed over with a flowery aura around him. No, seriously, yellow flowers were around him that even the androids looked at each other if they weren't glitching when seeing it. Both her and Chai are my greatest inventions, even the Mad Moxie girl I bought the rights to create. Chai? Naruto head hung down slightly. Freya's sister, I don't want to talk about that if that's fine. He said, although smiling, he seemed deflated at the mention of it. Anyway, so can you tell what has happened to me? As I check out my own body and what the guys recorded on me. This is what Sona can use to make Naruto witness her intelligence. From what I saw and gather, it was your sacred gear. Sacred gear? Sounds familiar. They are usually referred to God's artifacts and holy constructs, made by God himself too. Solomon, oh my god. Naruto laughed out as he just laughed lightly. I am such an idiot. He rolled to the table to quickly tied his robes from exposing to the young woman. God, that's why you gave this to dad. He grabbed Sona's hands and shook them with surprising amount of power, almost lifting her whole body as well. Sorry, continue. Somewhat unnerved by his outburst, she still picked up where she left to bestow onto humans, miracles, if you will. It came to my conclusion yours was similar to a stalled engine, while working it couldn't be activated, leading to build energy from being a state of inert. Causing like a, forgive my lack of wording, constipation. It harmed you by slowly sending you to a smothering death from your own energy reserves. He nodded as the blonde cupped his chin, odd, but it does make sense. He concluded from her deduction. Can you be pized what kind I have? She nodded as the android stopped its actions and back off. It seems to be a weaker case of it, but I need more time to give a correct answer. Well then, how about dinner, then relax into my room. He suggested as Sona nodded, getting off the table to be given a soft and short robe. If it was anyone else, she wouldn't dare wear it, but knowing the creator isn't a leecher or any kind of it. They left as Devil just realized how the corridor looked so bland and the same. How does he know where he is going? I'd made the blueprint so I know which room is which. He stated as the woman just blinked at his deduction. Even some of my older persicums were the same before I upgraded most when I slept. Amazing. Not really, I just had a bad thought that if assassins came I can use my repetitive rooms to give my girl some time to kill him. He explained his reasoning, but I am not creative when it comes to anything beside my creations on androids or my personal projects. Why put aesthetics on something no one can see? I made all my girls and boys look so pleasing to see that it makes people question their sexuality. And you're proud of that? Sona asked honestly as she was awed by the fact he was proud in. Dad and I almost made a Gundam, but I could never found enough metal alloy to create the simple Zaku. He complained, I tried to make my own power source until I substitute the alloy, but you start making a nuclear reactor and suddenly the UN says that's too far. He waved his hands, mocking what the 90% of the meeting told him. Sona was actually kinda glad, well she wasn't an anime fan like Ria's, but she was dragged into watching a few shows that did catch her fancy. Sadly Ria's had a like for the older Gundam series instead of the newer ones. To each their own. Naruto then grabbed a door handle before entering the room to show a small homely table for eating, where two androids were cooking. What really made Sona's eyes soften at the sight was a young girl. Alice, go greet our father. The older woman stated as a young girl who looked like an American walked up to them with childlike wonder in her eyes. She couldn't be any older than 9, and her brown hair was tied up in a ponytail. Hello, I mean, welcome home daddy. She smiled widely as Sona watched as Naruto's face melted into a fatherly smile as he scooped her up. Hey Alice. He spun in place before setting her down, did you help make me and Sona's food? Yeah. She nodded enthusiastically. Naruto, is this? Oh, right, this is my project for certain people who can't conceive no matter what. He stated with a smile, holding Alice's hands as he brought her to his master. YK500, although the American branch no longer can get them as the CyberLife company sold them to male perverts when getting double the amount. The creator made a fist at the thought of those monsters harming his children like that. Sona squatted down to meet with Alice's eye level who cutely upped before hiding behind Naruto's legs. Hello, Alice, please don't be frightened. I'm a friend of your dad. The devil never thought that word would so foreign to her by addressing a young man. Hello. She nodded as a bleached blonde woman with short hair came holding a pot. Gaara, I'll help. The young child android rushed to the kitchen. Gaara, how's being a mother? Naruto asked as the woman blushed. I know, you're the original. Don't worry, it's fine. Thanks for making the great food. Anytime, father. Gaara said with a relief smile, it's nothing fancy, roast beef, French onion soup, Caesar salad with dressing on the side, cornbread, lastly some freshly baked garlic bread. The woman android announced as she and Alice placed the last bit of the food in, while Alice got a candlestick. Alice, what's that for? Daddy's on a date. Right. Both the devil and creator blushed red when they heard the innocent child say such a thing. No. It's just a friendly meal. The blonde coughed into his hand after regaining his composure. Oh sorry. She pouted, but Sona gently placed her hand on top of Alice's. You can leave it here. It can still be nice to have a lit candlelight dinner. The bespectacled woman said as Alice's smile grew before placing it. We'll take our leave, father. Gaara bowed to her creator as she and Alice left the room, making Naruto still have a little bit of pink on his face. Let's eat. He said with a smile, pulling a chair for Sona. Please take a seat. The young devil did her utmost best to control her beating heart as she took a seat which Naruto pulled out. Enjoying as he gently pushed her in, laying a napkin on her lap and soon took out a bottle of wine. I don't know if you drink, but I got a decent aged wine. He offered to her, I don't drink, but Serafal enjoyed the vintages I have on hand. Sona nodded as the young man uncorked the bottle to lightly pour a simple but elegant wine glass. I can't at least take a small amount, I was able to enjoy some at parties. Enjoying the kind gestures of her crush, especially on how he was earnestly pouring the amount carefully, as if he was working with her own life. Stopping barely a quarter full, he placed the bottle to a wine chiller that appeared from the ground. Waiting until he sat across from her, she slightly twirled her glass to inspect the liquid before taking a small smell and took a sip. A genuine smile came across her lips, the taste is very refined and fragrant in the best way. Naruto gave a sigh of relief as he placed a piece of roast beef onto 2 plates, along with small amounts of the other sides. Ice wines are my favorite, less alcoholic content and more flavor in my opinion. He childishly stuck out his tongue, some of my most biggest spenders from armies or companies often tease me for not liking it. But while they are drunk, I am robbing them blind so ha. The Citriaris just ate in silence, but inwardly took everything he said to heart, a treasure too many to just to meet him, but this was something only she can have because of saving him. He was so pure in many senses, he doesn't see his creations in any way bad and seemed to be in a good mood. It was enduring to behold from a man that made powerful beings as the Euro organization who were feared by all 4 great races. Yet, there he was enjoying his food as he tried to look professional, but clearly wanted to blissfully sigh or yell out something like "so good," but he tried to be at the same level of respect for her. You can act a little loose. I don't mind, my friends are often like that. I choose to be serious. Oh thank God, he said before sighing in bliss, making the girl notice a small white spirit leaving his mouth. Gaara made something so good. PFFT. The young woman covered her mouth with a wrist to prevent any chuckles she had released from being noticed. I never believed someone with such kindness and love for his creations would be the creator. Naruto to his surprise shake his head, I ain't kind, I just felt petty and in many ways immature. He stir his soup as the genius smile a somber look at his friend. What do you mean? Sona asked slightly worried for his words watching Naruto sip his meal. Do you know the famous attack on the Japan? That airplane was hijacked and people died in when the idiot terrorist rather die than get turned in. He sighed off as Sona nodded to that knowledge. Yes, many people died, but one survivor was. No survivors, Naruto stated coolly as if the knowledge wasn't that important. But that was because I was fibbing, the person who indeed the survivor was able to live as something more than what she was. More. But the reason I did that was because why not? He said softly noticing his friend's clueless look and went onwards, why not go against the flow of the world? I was so dumb when I was child thinking that maybe just maybe I was go enough to beat death. And I did to realize how disturbing how happy I was to keep a little girl. He stopped midway to take a breath before returning a sweet smile once more. Sorry, let's enjoy the meal. Sona nodded quietly, but once in a while looked up to see her peerage member and gave a sad frown. He was so open that it was easy to see his lies. And here is my favorite room, the chess room. Naruto kicked the sliding door down as a small hall took it in, as Sona walked with the blonde to see a room that looked homely as it was next to a fireplace, single crystal set of chess between two large leather chairs. Snacks of all kinds with beverages of all kinds as well. One of the few times I didn't really care for aesthetics and just went in for just comfort. Of course the chairs can be any kind, but the smell of leather and cushy effect is the best for chess. He stated with a smile walking up to a dark crystal king in his hands. I had the largest diamonds in the world cut and pegged to each other to make almost. He spun the object in the air as he run numbers quickly, 2. 4 2. $7 million, that is only sold by this piece only. The creator wiggled the piece in his hands with a wink. Sona reached the podium to lift her hand to gesture the other side to allow to handle it, may I? Surely, of course. He said as the girl lifted a queen on his side, surprised at the light weight of the expensive crystal. Well. It's everything you have, just screams beauty and visual pleasing. I can understand why you focus on these on your products. She thumbed the tip of the chess piece before setting it down along with it was good to sit down herself. Tired? Naruto asked as the heiress shook her head. I wish a small game between us, friendly. She suggested, but this was the moment of truth. Her heart was beating to the point that she believed that Naruto could hear or even feel the pounding of her heart. It was what her sister told her what asking sex was like, from the point of view from her character on her shows, that her mouth was dry, her mind running millions of miles from here, and hands sweaty. The scary part of it all. She really liked the fact her body was getting turned on from the fact brains were a part of this game. Naruto took the set across from her with a large smile, I play and talk, I like multitasking. The creator's red eye shone in hypnotic way. And the foreplay has started. Good, I like moving my hands around as I play with you. She said knowing it was a bit weak as this is the first time she was seducing a man. If Riaz was here she would be whispering on better comebacks. Who should be the first to lead the way? She said taking off a button to know that this was going to make her sweat mentally. The good games always did that to her. Ladies first. Thank you. The Citriere took her white pawn from D2 and moved it up to D4. Going from the middle, Naruto stated with a nod, that usually means that you are cautious player, most like me would do the opposite, but you're too good to be beaten by such tricks. Knight to 6F. Naruto took his crystal horse and knight diamond piece to the appropriate square. Let's see if you can handle my mind making you slowly beg me to stop. He placed his left hand on his cheek to tease the girl on how relaxed he was playing with her. First rule of chess is that if you lose any sort of stoic nature you're screw. I would attack against strong players, but I was one of your early victims so many years ago. The heiress stated with a smirk, so this is the best way to guard your attacks, C2 pawn to C4. This caught of Naruto as he 7e pawn forward to 6e, we ice maiden. Naruto smiled, turned the most radiant smile that could melt any female's heart to a puddle of water. So you're the only player that actually gave me a challenge. Sona was about to blush but noticed his smirk, cruel, but thank you for the compliment, knight from B1 to C3. She took a small drink of sparkling water to calm her nerves from the slight mistake that Naruto almost made her do. Bishop to B4. Naruto declared as Sona's eyes widen at the sudden leap of the reach he has done. Sona looked at her own side and needed to stay strong, a solid defense to his strong offense. I shall move my knight to F3. Queen. Your HQ. Commander, we just received notice that Sevens was just damaged. Permission to send 2B to the area. A pale-skinned woman with long curly hair wearing the standard operator uniform for Yorha stated to her leader. The leader was a strong-looking woman with a sterling white and golden appearance. She was made to be in mid-20s, wearing a long almost alluring white dress that had long slit that showed her legs. The woman had white leggings with golden accents that complemented her white leather gloves. On her waist was a white riding crop that lay on her thin stomach. Her long golden hair was done in a small braid on her left side that allowed the other side to cascade it beautifully. Green eyes stared dangerously as she nodded, alert her and Nines to head to the location call father, as he would need to see this. With Naruto. Sona was basically flustered in every way possible, from lust as every time Naruto pushed her back made her wanted him more than anything. Anger, as he was now doing some taxes and other mundane stuff as soon when she made the biggest mistake to let him her Rukin night. And embarrassment as she was sweating to the point that she already drank most of the liquids in the room to keep her mind strong, despite the losing battle. Knight from 5e to 7f, she was trying to corner Naruto's king for the last half hour, but he made her go back to defend her queen. Jack, bishop to 6g from 5f, Naruto said as he stopped working as he returned to his full attention. Whoops, more like check. Creator. Sona nearly leaped from her seat as she redid her buttons that almost showed off her breasts to her crush when 2B came in the room. The blonde had an amused smile as he saw Sona, never realizing that even she had moved her queen, his other pieces would have captured her. He won, but it wasn't like they had anything to gain from this friendly match. Yes. We got a problem. Sevens is down and we're finding him. Naruto's eyes darkened as he nodded. Go on ahead and I'll meet you there. He ordered as the android left. Sona, we'll do another game. He said, moving towards the door as the girl followed him. You don't have to come. I know, but I should go with my servant. She stated as she was serious on that subject, but also since that Naruto is part of her family that his children are also under her watch. The creator didn't say anything but nod as the two headed to the hallway as the wall in front of them spun. Shocking the girl as Naruto chuckled, I also had the hallways made to spiral around to get to a room quicker. The girl mouthed a quick "oh" as the door suddenly stopped before them. Let's go. Naruto said as they enter a large garage to see hundreds of vehicles of all kinds. From recreational to military purposes, Naruto moved to get into a orange Ferrari. I don't drive slow, he warned Sona as she spent the next few minutes with her crush in the quickest and scariest ride of her life. Sona left the car with a shaky start as she never thought that Naruto would be such a bad driver from all the times they nearly flipped over his car and willingly drove off a cliff just to save time. We could have just my magic to get here. She stuttered from the ride, still leaving her stunned. Not as fun. He quickly said before seeing the two powerful androids he created. Nines, B status report. We secured the Yorha member. Nine said as he showed Naruto what looked like a younger version of Nines, almost at the age of a middle schooler. Sevens, this is. Dad. Seven said with a wide smile, you. He didn't get the chance to speak as Naruto held the boy in his arms. You did a great job, rest up, Dad's going to fight. Wait. The three androids and the creator of them turned to see Sona. This is. Work of a stray devil, only androids with 8 and above in their title can take them. Naruto said as Sevens groaned when smiling. Oi, I'll ground you if you don't go to rest mode. He said as his son went off to obey his father. Then let me call my peerage, we can help. She said as the two androids looked at each other with concern in their eyes. Do it, we need more help, Naruto said as he took Seven's cross. I'll take this, I want him to be at least part of the battle. Yes father, Nine said as he looked at his partner. Ready B. Ugh, I'm going to hit you on purpose. Did Sona. He started to talk to his master, but only to look at her shock expression. What is it? That cross. Oh, Sevens is a bit religious, so I didn't. Naruto stopped as she moved forward and touched the cross he held. But he saw how her finger created steam when touching the object. Her eyes held shock realization as she knew why he can hold it. You're still human. So this part ends here. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, so quickly like this video for second part of this series. And comment down below your thoughts about this series. And now it's time for me to go, bye.